wrestling diehards only, this is the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome into a brand new season of the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast on IdahoSports.com. My name is Brandon Maney. We will be joined not just tonight, but throughout the entire wrestling season by our very talented panel of wrestling experts. We have to start with our leadoff batter here, the guy that always brings the data and is always well researched when he comes up with an opinion. It's Coach Al Fontes. Al, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm happy for the new season. My season never ends. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I haven't stopped since I've been here. So it's good for the actual wrestling season to be here. So happy to be here.
Yeah, off season. What off season?
Not for me.
For sure. All right. Well, let's give a quick refresher to everybody, and we'll have Brian Zollinger joining us momentarily as well. He's at junior high matches, and that's the thing that I love about our panel is that you guys are all involved in the sport of wrestling, and sometimes you're at competitions, sometimes you're at practices, and so as long as we've got a cast of characters, we'll always have somebody here to break down the sport. Every Tuesday night, we're going to do the Mat Chat Prepcast every Tuesday evening, 8 o'clock Mountain Time, 7 o'clock Pacific Time on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, Twitter account, and we're also streaming live this year, Al, to the Idaho Wrestling News Facebook page as well. So we're stepping up our game. I
look forward to it.
Definitely. Al, for those that may not be familiar with you or the work that you do, or they're stumbling upon this prepcast for the first time, give us a quick bio and a quick intro about yourself.
I started wrestling in 1978 in middle school, wrestled through high school in Livermore, California, wrestled at Chabot College when I got out of the Navy. Writing was just something that came by circumstance. It became a new goal of mine to promote wrestling, and I've been doing it for over 30 years. Prior to Idaho, I wrote for Wrestling USA. I helped write with Win Magazine, Amateur Wrestling News, a lot of the outlets. Used to write with the California Wrestler, but as you know, when I came here to Idaho, I started the Idaho Elite Report and have not stopped, and then joined your staff writing all the previews and doing the hidden gems. I think I've written about 100 articles since I've been here published. So this is a great state. There's so much to write about that I tend to have at least 2 or 3 articles going at the same time to keep pace.
You've always got a couple of irons in the fire, Al. That's for sure.
Good news is I'm retired. I've been retired from my career job, but wrestling's my passion. So this is not a job. This is a passion.
Right. I'll have to go back and look and count up if you're at 100 or when you get to 100, but maybe we'll bake you a cake with the big 100 on it, Al. What do you think?
German chocolate.
Okay. I think we can arrange that. My wrestling story is far less interesting because I don't really have one. I grew up in Montana, small town called Stevensville. It's about the size of Shelley, probably. So we're kind of like Shelley. We're one of the smaller schools in our classification. We were the only school in our classification that didn't have wrestling, Al. All we had was basketball, or you were lifting weights for whatever spring sport you were going to go do. Those were your choices. So I really don't have much of the background in wrestling like so many of you guys do. The only experience I've wrestling is like roughhousing with my elder brother when we were kids. I'm not sure there's any legally sanctioned moves there, though.
It's one of the greatest sports. And when I came to Idaho, I realized firsthand that this was a hidden gem. I've been on the national scene for about 25, 30 years. And I knew there was some talent here, but I didn't realize till I came here. And it is a hit. Well, it's no longer a hidden gem since they won the Fargo Nationals. I think people are starting to realize there's some talented wrestlers, great coaching here. It's a great sport, and I just love giving back. It's really, at the end of the day, it's for the kids. It's for wrestling. That's why I do it. It's just to promote one of the greatest sports in the world.
Definitely. So with that said, all the introductions are out of the way. Really, we're the people that are on here talking now, but this show is driven by the fans. And we've got a lot of people that tune in live every week. For those that can't make it live, though, a lot of people come back the next day or even, going into the weekend. They're always going back to find this. And so a really easy way to make it easier for people to find on replay is to hit the like button and also share this, retweet it, wherever you're at, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. If you hit that like button and then share it, it helps everybody who can't be here live find it a little easier amongst all the social media algorithms, because I know we have a lot of people that aren't able to tune in live every week, but they still come back and watch and or listen to it. So that said, the fans, Al, are the ones that really drive the show. We want to hear your questions, your comments. If you've got a school or a team or an athlete you're repping, give a shout out, drop it in the comments. We'll throw it up on the screen, Al. We've already got a couple of comments here in the chat. John says, it's appreciated, Al, all that hard work that you do for the great state of Idaho. You really have become a big advocate for Idaho's wrestlers. Definitely.
I'm blessed to be here.
Yeah, we're blessed that you chose to retire to Idaho. We got very lucky when you did that. And right away, let's dive into Jimmy Train wants to know early opinions on 3A. Who's the team to beat? Now, Al, you've been working on your very comprehensive statewide wrestling preview. This is a written preview. We're going to break it down by classification, 5A, 3A, 2A, and then 1A, and break it all down for you. It takes a long time though. And Al gets, sometimes the hands cramp up from writing so much, right?
Carpal tunnel syndrome.
That's right.
No, if South Fremont won 4 state titles in a row, they lost a few kids, but they still have enough kids to make the top 3, if not challenge for it. I saw Fruitland this weekend at the Donley duels, and they did fairly well in the duels, but I think they have enough numbers to do well. Then we got Buell High School. We have the Brunson brothers and a host of kids that are really solid there. American Falls, and then Snake River. We got to keep an eye on them. So right now, I'd say those are the sort of teams to watch. Fruitland, South Fremont. Oh, and we got to include Marsh Valley as well. They returned about 7 kids that have placed at state, and a handful of qualifiers as well. So I'd say that's the 3A right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say don't count out Marsh Valley. They small but mighty.
I got a lot of notes, so.
Yes. Yeah. So as I was saying, when those previews come out, they will be out in the early part of next week on IdahoSports.com. They are well worth the wait, because Al is going to give you all that data, all of the, returning placers, and, and also, something we're bringing back this year are our team rankings and our individual rankings. Al, this is a big undertaking that we do. We brought it back for the first time last year. To pretty positive reception, where we go in by, weight and rank individuals and also rank the teams. We all kind of chime in and do it collaboratively. Just remember, folks, if your kid is not where you want them to be ranked, it's not personal. It's just something we're trying to sift through as the season goes along. But those will be coming out next week as well, Al. So wrestling is really, off and running for sure.
And I would caution that some of these kids who were state qualifiers last year, the gap's starting to close. Some of these kids have improved over the summer. Some of them went back to Fargo or went to the Folkstyle National and put some time in the Western region. So the gaps are closing. So it's not nothing safe or guaranteed in some of these weights. So
that's right.
Some good kids coming up.
And there's always freshmen that are coming in as well that are, very highly regarded from the middle school circuit also.
Mm-hmm.
Lynn, tonight repping Post Falls High School.
Mm-hmm.
Go Trojan. Al, I live a lot closer to Post Falls High now. Yep. I made the move up to North Idaho in the off season, so I'll carry the flag for North Idaho.
Yeah, they're solid. They got about 7 returning state placers. A couple, Ryder Sequin was a state champ. He's an All-American. We have Barnhart state champion, 3-time placer, and multiple state placers. But they have a bunch of kids that are returning too, plus a freshman by Matt Hamilton. It's going to be solid. So they're definitely going to be in the mix in a 5A, where I'd say Meridian's probably the early favorite. And, Nampa's they did fairly well in the duels, but they do have a team that can do really well in the tournament scoring. There's a big difference between dual meets and tournament scoring, because as you know, state tournament's about numbers. It's how many kids you have there. And if you have a second kid that's good too, that can score points. So it's a quantity game.
Yeah, definitely quantity once you get to state for sure.
Yeah.
Couple of shout outs here. One for you, Al, from Jordan Jimenez. Al, the man Fontes.
I coach with Jordan. He's a great coach. I remember him in high school back in California, out in the Bay Area, solid wrestler. He's doing a great job, great coach, great with the kids. And we're lucky to have him here in Idaho. He's a major asset.
Yeah,
coach.
Definitely. And now all the Post Falls Trojan fans here. Here's Bridget. Yay, welcome to the North. I'm assuming that's for me. Jacqueline says, yeah, I'm going to just take that as a Post Falls. And then Bethany says Post Falls here too. So our Post
Falls.
Never
count them out. They're solid. They're doing a great job up there. Coach is working hard. He's got a lot of kids. And yeah, we got to watch them closely because they're definitely going to be in the mix for that top 3. If not
definitely. 5. So Post Falls is in the house, and so is another one of our panelists here, Brian Zollinger. Brian, what's going on? How you doing?
Hey, good. How you guys doing? Good to join you.
Yeah.
Sorry I was late. Middle school season's finishing up, so we had one last duel.
Yeah. So Brian, tell us, where were you at tonight?
We were at a duel with Skylines Junior High, Bonneville's Junior High, and Hillcrest Junior High. So just barely finished up, and I ran here as quick as I could. So last duel of the season.
Yeah, we have our championships in the the Meridian, Cuna, that area. They're going to have their championships this weekend. And what isn't middle school state in about a week or so?
Yep.
16th or 15th, 16th or something like that. Yeah.
Yep, a week from Friday, Saturday.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, Al, and I guess we should mention when we gave your little bio, you help out as an assistant coach in the Treasure Valley as well, correct?
Yeah, I'm one of the assistants at Rocky Mountain High School. I've coached at a little bit, not this year, but I got a lot going on. But I coached at helped coach at Heritage. Todd Hines, he's the head coach there, also coaches that, and he does an outstanding job. I think they had close to 107 kids out this year. There, which is a lot. I'm seeing the trend grow at the grassroots level, especially with the kids. Brian, in your area, I'm hearing some of the schools have up to 500 kids coming out, and it's growing.
Yeah, it is. It's awesome to see for sure.
Yeah,
and the girls' numbers are off the board this year.
Yeah, I think it's gone up like 17% since last year in the numbers. So we're edging towards almost 1,000 girls. I think it's like 8 something now.
Yeah, over 800 I saw officially signed up in girls wrestling, which is just awesome to see.
It'll be tougher to make that tournament since that's a joint, all divisions than it is any of the divisions in the boys. Percentage wise, it'll be a lower percentage of the girls that qualify for state. So, you'd think they'll be looking at splitting that by divisions here in the next year or two.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was the freshman class that had the largest number of the
Yeah, that's what I saw too.
Yeah. So the grassroots are starting to grow, which is good.
Yeah, there's no magic number, but I think 1,000 is a good number to then split up, into classifications for girls.
So to be honest with you, if you look at the national trends the last 20 years, if you look at the trajectory, Idaho is on that same trajectory I saw in California and on the national. It is exponentially growing fast, especially once the grassroots starts to establish and you have those pioneer girls coming back from college, and now they're coming back and giving back. You're going to see even more.
Yeah, for sure. We've got a comment here from Rob Sherrill. Sandpoint repping too. So we got our Post Falls contingent. We've got our Sandpoint contingent. Of course, I made the move to North Idaho over the off season. Al lives in the Treasure Valley. Brian, you're kind of our East Idaho representative here. Brian, for those that may not be familiar with you or they're just coming upon the Prepcast for the first time, give us kind of a quick bio about yourself and your background in the sport of wrestling.
Yeah, I grew up around wrestling. My dad was part of USA Idaho Wrestling back in the early 90s, all the way through 2010. So, wrestled Sugar Salem High School. I went to college, wrestled BYU, Boise State. The great Chris Owens, I was able to wrestle 1 year under Chris when he was at Boise State. And have just followed it. Wrestling kids are my passion, and I've coached kids clubs for, 20 plus years now. And so love the sport and just watching the development it gets. And it's an exciting time in Idaho, as we covered last year and the last show we did. And so it's fun to watch.
Yeah, we did a special off-season show because, of course, Team Idaho won Fargo Nationals for the first time ever. We had a couple of those outstanding young men on that were part of that championship team. You can go back and watch that on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel or Facebook page. The fourth member of our panel, not here tonight, that would be Jacob Eck. He says, I'm in Disney, but I'll be back next week with all that I saw, and we'll see you the following week. And then he did chime in with a few comments here, and so let's dive into the conversation. Here's our main guy from Lewiston, Hoyt and Brock Havas. What's up, guys? The best prepcast in the galaxy is back. Thoughts on last weekend's tournaments? Here's what Jacob had to say about what he saw. My favorites of the week were BK getting to the finals and going for the ship at Donnelly. Mara, Mackenzie, Martino could wrestle every week, and I'd sign up for it. Banta versus Bowen, Mauger versus Zach, and of course, wrestling is back. So, Al,
and his son looked really solid there too. And I think he's going to North Idaho College, I believe, for college.
Yep. I saw Hoyt.
He looks solid, tough kid.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch him at the next level. Going to be fun to watch him this year too. I mean, Hoyt's one of those kids that, man, I love his Greco matches. It's, if every match was Hoyt Greco, we'd have the stands filled every week because he is just exciting to watch.
For sure. So, Brian, what was the best thing you saw from the opening weekend of the high school wrestling season?
I was at a tournament in North Fremont, and a lot of the smaller schools, West Jefferson, West Side, North Fremont, Ryrie, Sugar Salem, Teton, and that was fun to watch. Some good wrestling matches, but watching from afar, the obviously the big one this weekend were the Donnelly duels, and I agree with Jacob Beck. I mean, Fruitland, Bishop Kelly, it didn't disappoint. I mean, you just have so many all-stars there, both Mackenzies, the Hood kid at Fruitland at 82, and then all of Bishop Kelly's hammers. I mean, from the, Skellinger and Thompson and Carlos and Manny, the Valdez brothers. I mean, that was by far the highlight of the week, I think, is seeing that duel.
Yeah, and we had some key matchups there too, like Jonathan Siemens from Nampa beating Saya Thompson in a very tight match at 170s, both returners. Marcus Ailman from Fruitland to beat Alani Macias, who's a state placer 4-2. Hoot Voss beating Sean Hall. Sean Hall's up and coming. Then he placed at Folkstyle Nationals, up and coming kid from Canyon Ridge. He looks solid. And then Mara beating Caden McKenzie from Fruitland 3-0, and that kid was an All-American too. So that's why the gaps are starting to close on some of these up-and-coming kids are getting better. So it's going to be interesting this year. But those are some of the highlight matches there I observed.
Yeah, definitely. The best thing I saw was actually a piece that Al just wrote for IdahoSports.com. The latest in his Hidden Gems of Idaho series, the Brunson twins from Buell High School, Bowen and Riley. Al, and everybody should go check it out. It's on the homepage at IdahoSports.com. I think the best part of that when I read it was you asked each of them, what their goals were for the upcoming season. And Bowen, said his number one goal was to actually help his teammate get to state and do better because he's had a tough road. He missed some time with COVID and another injury. And so just the unselfishness from Bowen Brunson there to say, my number one goal is to help this teammate who's really been battling get to state and try to get some points.
Yeah, I interviewed both kids, and both of them I had a conversation for over an hour. Great kids, hard worker, great students, got a great attitude in life. They're ahead of the curve for their age. And I think wherever they go in the future, college wrestling, they're going to do well. But great kids. They have had to overcome some adversity through the years, through injuries and like anyone else, but they just keep moving forward. And great in the classroom as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. And Buell was over. That's another big tournament that was going on where the Dalkey duels there in American Falls. A lot of good team matchups there. Buell looks good. You got to say they're one of the favorites to win it at 2A.
Yep, for sure. Here's Chris Aldrich saying, let's go Buell Indians. That's right. We want to hear from you, the fans, tonight. Who are you repping? Who are you giving shout outs to? If there's a topic you want us to break down, let us know. We'll throw it up on the screen. You, the fans, really drive what direction the show goes in each and every week. Here's Rob from Sandpoint saying, super stoked for you guys to be back. We're glad to be back, Rob. I've had people asking me, Brian, for probably at least a month. Hey, is Mat Chat coming back?
Yeah, everywhere we go. Al and I were over at the ring ceremony. They presented the championship rings to the Greco, the junior Greco team. He's got it there, and that's what everyone wanted to say is, where's the podcast? When are you going to start it? Beautiful ring there too.
It's many years of work. The coaching staff did an outstanding job, but it's years of family support. There's a lot of people behind the scenes that made that happen. It goes beyond comprehension. The blueprint for action, as we discussed, it's an all hands on deck. Everyone, there's a lot of people that should get credit for that happening. Yep. Great tournament. Hey, can I go back to the Hidden Gem series? I was just looking at all the kids I've written about. There's been over about 20. I'd say over almost every one of them are honor roll students, great academics. But I think half of those were in the National Honor Society. So I just want to pinpoint, we got some solid overall tough, good academic kids in this state. I'm impressed. So I just wanted to note that has been the theme.
Yeah, if you're an athlete and you want to go to college on a scholarship, having the grades is going to make, that's one less thing your future college coach has to worry about. That is going to bump you ahead of other kids that are on the recruiting list as well. So yeah, keep up the academic work for sure. We've had so many great, outstanding young men and women for sure. Okay, here's some shout outs. We heard about Post Falls earlier. Idaho Wrestling News says, when we used to webcast state wrestling, Post Falls was one of the most fun schools. They would email in constantly asking to watch their boys wrestle, and they would have TVs hooked up to laptops watching all the action in the high school and elementary schools. Yeah, it is a diehard fan base for sure. And maybe someday IdahoSports.com can webcast state wrestling once again. But for now, we're good to talk about it every single week and break down the big storylines. Here's Matthew Cox representing New Plymouth, the Grims from the 2A ranks. And Alfonso says, glad to see you guys back. And he says, Al, Hudson Rogers didn't disappoint from this opening weekend.
No, he's a solid kid. He's by far one of the favorites at his weight in the 5A. Last year he fell short, but he responded well by winning the folk style nationals. He's a hard worker, great kid. He's going to Oregon State. Like many kids from this core group that we've been talking about the last couple of years, these kids have been sticking together, working hard for the last 10, 12 years. Very committed to the sport. So.
Definitely. Lynn Exford from Wisconsin tuning in tonight. Of course, Carson Exford, Nampa High Bulldog, a name we're very familiar with, of course. Jacob Eck says Fruitland, new kings of 3A, or Al, you taking Fruitland or are you taking the field?
Fruitland will be one of the teams to beat. Yeah. South Fremont will be there because they know how to win, but it's coming to the end of the year. If they'll be tough to beat. Yeah,
Brian,
3A.
you taking?
I think I'd take Fruitland over the field right now, except, you give me Fruitland and Buell together. I think it's going to be Fruitland or Buell.
Yeah.
But I think I'd give Fruitland right now the upper hand, those upper weights, but Buell is right there. And like Al said, Marsh Valley's bringing a lot of good kids. South always, like he said, knows how to work. And American Falls has got, a few kids there too. So I like Buell or Fruitland. We'll go A or B.
So yeah, I'll take the field just in terms of my odds are better, but also because I agree. I think Buell is really set up for a special season.
Fruitland has 8 returning state placers. They do have a kid, I think, came in from Oregon. He's an Oregon state champion. So that's going to help. They got over, I think, up to 12 kids that have gone to state or state qualifiers. South Fremont has 5 returning state placers and several returning qualifiers, whereas Marsh Valley, they got 6 state placers coming back. So it's going to be those second teamers coming back. That's going to play a big role.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Still early.
Shout out from Mendy, Chaz Ponton at Mountain View. He's one to watch. Of course, Mountain View's been on our radar the last couple of years in the 5A ranks, especially at the upper weights. It seems like they just have those guys in spades recently, for sure. Patrick Hodges was at the Artist Nash Girls Tournament in Homedale last week. He says over 300 girls competing now, and we're starting to see these bigger regular season meets taking place on the girls' side. I know the Jay Bird is always a huge one, and that's just awesome to see.
So they had about 20 returning state placers placed in that tournament. There wasn't a couple Oregon teams that were tough. There's someone like Jolie Slider from Lewiston. She's a returning state champion. She won it. In fact, 114s had the top 4 were all returning state placers. Whereas trying to think of some of the other weights, 145 Claire Wade, Holden Weber, Zoe Fries did really well at 45s. But overall, looks like a very good tournament. A team to watch this year too in the girls division is Rocky Mountain High School. They were second in that tournament. They have a real committed group of girls coming up this year, so they may make some waves this year. I know Canyon Ridge is going to be a tough team to beat, as well as Eagle, but keep an eye on Rocky Mountain in the girls division.
Yeah, and Thunder Ridge too. Obviously, they won the tournament. You know, they've got some young girls coming in. The Brown girl that's at 100 that got injured last season. I mean, she's got to be one of the favorites at 100 now that Jolie Slider moved up to 14. And those 3 teams, I think Thunder Ridge, Rocky Mountain, and in Canyon Ridge. Canyon Ridge, I heard had more girls out than they did boys this year.
Wow.
So that's pretty impressive. And so they're going to be solid. And Jerome and Eagle have a pretty decent team too. They represented well at that tournament. And there was also a girls tournament over at Hillcrest on the eastern side of the state for girls. And Burley brought a lot of girls as well. They weren't at Artist Nash. They were at the Hillcrest Girls Invitational. So, they look like they've got, number-wise, they had 40 or 50 girls at that tournament, I think. So,
yeah.
It's going to be
a handful of those girls too, Brian and Brandon. Idaho in the national rankings, Jolie Slider's ranked, Claire Waite, Zoe Fries, and Amy Hartman have been in the national rankings. We do have Kaden Skirg, number 1 in the country, but she's not wrestling at the high school rank. She's number 1 in the freestyle in the country, won the Fargo Nationals. That's a solid number. We've had 9 last year. So already Idaho is starting to make waves in the girls division on a national scale. Be great someday we can have a women's program here in the college along with another men's program.
Yeah, that's a topic I know we'll get into more as the season goes along. There's nowhere to send these young men and women in state except for North Idaho College currently. And we'll totally claim Cadence in Idaho for sure, even if she's not competing with a high school.
She lives in Meridian. She lives a couple miles from me, so she's right here in Meridian. So
yep, yeah, for sure. Jordan agrees with you, Al. He says Rocky Mountain girls going to make a splash. And Brian, you mentioned Jerome. Nick Newbury says, go Jerome, 185-pound, bunch of tough girls throughout the state. They should be good this year.
Yep, they are.
Yep. And here's Rob reporting quite a few girls at the Sandpoint girls tourney this past weekend, probably 80 or maybe more. That's great for the season opening weekend to have all these girls events going on around the state and having a lot of them pushing, 60, 70, 80, over 300 in Homedale. That's just great news and really speaks to the strength of the sport.
Yeah. So if we continue to grow, we're going to have to reevaluate where we're going to hold the state tournament. It's great having them both together. Really enjoy having them both together. But as we grow, we're going to need more mats in Pocatello. What do they run, about 16 mats?
Yep, they're going to have 16. I just heard today it's 16 mats again, so it'll be back to a 2-day tournament. And and with the girls, it'll be the first time we've tried a 2-day tournament with the girls, and so you basically have an extra division there. And I forgot the Blizzard. I think they call the Blizzards girls tournament is up. What was it, Sandpoint there that Rob Sherrill's? I forgot. So that's pretty amazing to be able to run 3 good-sized girls tournaments at the same weekend in the state. It's good to see.
Outstanding. Brian, do you think we'd ever see if we had enough girls to the point where we're talking about, going to have it at 2 separate places, having it on 2 separate weekends? We do that in basketball where girls basketball is one weekend, boys basketball is the following weekend.
Yeah. There's going to be enough girls to do it. I hate to see it. I mean, it's just fun to have them all together. It would be nice to figure out a way to combine that. I mean, we're already 3 days when it's in the Boise area. And I think logistically we could figure out how to just split it between sessions. So maybe at the finals, you have it all together, the girls and the boys. That's what I would like to see. And then when it's in Pocatello, it'll be interesting this year to see with the new division, but I think logistically we could figure it out. I hope it stays the same weekend, but absolutely it's going to be big enough to have its own tournament. And, that's one of the options is to split it. But, right now for the fans, I think it'd be nice not to have to travel over to Boise or Pocatello 2 weeks in a row.
I think logistically it's possible. If you look how Raleigh Lanes run, you couldn't be bunched up into 4 mats. They'd have to run it fluid for it to work. Raleigh runs all the mats, so all the girls, it wouldn't be 2A over here, 3A over there. It'd have to run fluid for it to work mathematically, but it's possible that way.
Yeah, I feel like we're always comparing. How does Raleigh Lane do it? And they've got that down to a T.
They do.
There,
Todd Katie does a great job with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Here's a shout out from Evan O'Brien. He says, I do want to give Brian and Al a huge shout out for taking pictures with the Post Falls boys. I did let them know if they weren't ranked, they are the guys that did it. Kidding, of course. The funniest part was hearing that they wanted to take a picture with Al.
I always got a target on me. No, they're good kids. I met them at the Ring Army. Very good kids. I've seen them wrestle. I wish them the best of luck this year. Very humble, tough kids.
I'm pretty sure when those rankings comes out, Post Falls is going to have some kids on the list. So
they will. They will. They're solid.
For sure. And just remember, this is something we do just to spark the conversation. It's not as a personal insult to anybody if you're not ranked where you want to be. It's just a fun discussion point for us to have throughout the season. Ann Newbury, she works in the Jerome Athletics office with Scott Burton, our good friend. She says Jerome Tiger girls doing awesome for sure. Okay, here's a question from John. He wants to know, what 4A hidden gems do you think there are? Al, I'm going to go to you since you are the expert on Idaho's hidden gems.
Oh wow, let me look at my notes. Give me a second.
No worries.
Yeah.
While you're doing that, Tom's got an idea for Pocatello. He's representing the Century Diamondbacks tonight. He says we could squeeze more mats into Holt Arena, and they can always. Yeah, I think we could.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yep.
Well, there's a lot of hidden gems. I mean, if you just look, some of the kids that haven't won state but have placed at state, you got Michael Teague from Minico. Minico has a bunch of kids. Paxton Twist is a 2-time placer. Garrett Vale, he's another one. He's going for his third state title. That's just a few. Let me go down and look at some of the returning.
The Otley kid is a senior at 152 for Minico. Andre Valero, Twist you mentioned. The Stimson kid at 120, solid piece. I mean, if you're looking at Minico, they've got a solid lineup. Hidden gems 4A, if you ask. I mean, the glaring one is Bishop Kelly. A couple of Al's articles of the Valdez brothers and Skellinger have already been hidden gem articles. Who else?
Well,
Mauger 4A, obviously. Mauger's also 4A over here in Blackfoot. And
I mean, we got a handful of kids. My next 2 articles I'm going to be doing is Jake Castagneto is going to be coming up. Jackson Packard's another one. These are kids that are right there in the mix. But we have a handful of 4A kids that are 3-4 going for their 4th state medal. Carter Baumforth from Shelley. Spencer Peace from Minico, Gavin Williams from Jerome, Andre Valero, and Dominic Alcantara from Caldwell. They're all 3-time state placers. Mm-hmm. So those are all guys that are going for the Fourthican Challenge as well. So that's 4A. There's a lot.
Yep. Okay, Jacob's got another question. I'll save it for the end because he had like 5 questions in one here. But okay, here's a question from HA. Who are the freshmen to look out for this year? Brian, I'm going to go to you on this because you were just at middle school competition.
Oh boy, I'm going to have to think about this. Freshmen, who did I see this week? I mean, there were some good ones. Let's see. Who did I see this week? I was impressed with freshmen that pulled some upsets. I would have to say Buell's got some great ones. The Pugsley kid coming in is good. Bishop Kelly, Mesher, Ridgevale, Bonneville. We mentioned him last year on the show when we were mentioning some good incoming freshmen. Drake Morrison, Malad. He's won some national recognition while he was in junior high. I think he went undefeated this first weekend as a freshman. American Falls is Blaze Turner. Went to Fargo with the 16U team just as an 8th grader and won a few matches there. I didn't see how the first day he was undefeated at American Falls. Where I was at North Fremont, Case Fulmer, his older brother's looking for his third state championship, I think is what Riker's going for. And Case Fulmer looked great as a freshman.
Isn't Packard's brother a national champion?
Yep. That's another one coming in, is the Packer kid is a freshman there. Man,
he's 8th grade right now, but he's up and coming. So yeah he'll be here
cool.
next year.
Yeah, Jacob had a lot of the names you mentioned there: Ridgevale, Pugsley, Mesher as well.
Yeah.
So.
And there's some good girls coming in too. The Price girl from Thunder Ridge, I think at 107, looks solid. Roxy Sheen from Buell had a really good weekend. Did she win it? No, I think she was third at 114 over there. So girls side, there's also some really good freshman girls coming in, but we named a lot of them there.
Yep. And here's one. Hoyt says, I know I'm glazing my own team, but we have a great freshman in Cohen Roberts up there in Lewiston as well. So, and look, we got more here. Rob says Carson Leonard from Lakeland.
Yep. It's another good one.
Up north. And Melody says Roxy did win. So
she did. Okay. I couldn't remember if she won it or so. Yeah, it's a good freshman.
Yep. And Amy says the same thing.
You look at Meridian. Meridian has at least 12 kids that either placed at the middle school state or won the district. So they have there's a lot of names there, but they have a young class that's coming in that's going to be tough in the future years to come. I mentioned Matt Hamilton at Post Falls as well, another kid. There's a good group.
Yep.
That's another freshman girl that's coming in. Olivia's, watched her since she was little. She's also won some national medal trophies, on the national stage. So she's going to be fun to watch as well.
Yep. Olivia Bezdechek there. Gregory says Edstrom. And
I don't know how I forgot them, but that's going to be fun to watch too.
This is why we do the show.
Yeah. She's a freshman, Olivia Bezdechek from Jerome.
Yeah.
She beat Talia Nichols from Rocky Mountain, who's a 14U national champ. She couldn't compete at state last year for some circumstances, but she's back. They met in the finals, and Talia beat Michaela Smith, who's a 2-time placer. That way was fairly tough at the girls tournament in Homedale.
Yep. And we're getting tons of freshman shout outs now. This is why we do the show, guys, because we're just three guys. Every state is pretty plugged in. Allison giving a shout out here to Brandon Edstrom from Madison Upper Valley Aces.
No doubt there.
Sam from Post Falls says Carson Leonard is a stud from Lakeland. Jordan says Carbine Batoni at Rocky and Jake Mesher from BK. Jacob was singling out Jake Mesher earlier as well.
Yeah, tough 106-pounder is Carmine Batoni. He's a tough kid. Works hard in the room. So watch out for him. He's tough.
For sure. All right. Well, let's swing the other way now from freshmen to seniors here. Hoyt wants to know any other seniors looking for their 4th state title, Al. I used to think this was a rare club, and every year it seems like more and more athletes are at least fighting for the chance to pull off the feat.
Yeah. So if you look at, let me see, you look at the, let me go down and look at my notes. So, in the 5A, you got Carson Expert going for number 4, Jason Mara from Meridian going for number 4. If we go down into the 4A,
Mac Mager.
Man, we got let me see,
Mac Mager.
Yeah, Mac Mager's going for number 4. Coulter Burton, who is going for number 4. And we got 3 kids going for the 3rd. So so we have a lot of kids coming up. And then let me see. We got to go to 3A. All these divisions. I'm used to one division. This is a lot.
While Al's searching that, because you've told me this before, Al, in California, where you're from, they do the best of the best, right? They take all
one division with close to 1,000 high schools, and you got to go through about 3 or 4 qualifiers to get to state. But be honest with you, I like the division system here. It gives a lot more kids to wrestling. The cream will rise to the top regardless. So, but that system there is brutal to get to state. I'm looking into we got Bowen Brunson. He's a 2-time champion, and him and Bowden Banta from South Fremont. They're going for number 3, but not 4. And I don't think there's anyone in the 2A that's going for number 4. Do you know anyone offhand?
I don't. I'm waiting for your article
a couple 2-time champs, and that's it.
You'll have that in the preseason article. I'm waiting. What do we have? 2 weeks till that gym comes out?
I got all the notes there. I just have to write the article for each one. So I wish I can put all this to memory, but I'm not there yet.
I'm with you. It's a lot of kids to track.
It's a lot of kids to track. So, but yeah, it'll come soon.
If there is somebody going for 4 that we missed, throw it in the comments and we'll get it up on the screen.
Yeah, I don't think there is. I just think just those first 2 divisions where we have a couple guys going for 4.
Yeah. So. And I know we've talked about in the past too, some of our female wrestlers and trying to recognize them, Al, for 4-time state champions, even though maybe a title or 2 came at the beginning of their career when it was an unsanctioned sport. I still think that deserves to be recognized and singled out also as a.
Oh yeah, the girls are a division. I mean, we got 1 3-time state, Holland Weber from Eagle. She's going to be going for 4th state medal, and then obviously we got Jolie Slider going for her 2nd. Alistair Dillo from American Falls. Elise Twait from Meridian. Claire Wade, who's been in the finals twice, won it her sophomore year. And then Jordan LeBeau from Eagle. Then Amy Hartman from Mountain Home is 2-time finalist. She's going for her 2nd title as well. And she's ranked nationally. She's going to be very tough to beat in her weight.
Yeah, we got a couple of nationally ranked girls competing this year in the great state of Idaho. Al, you were talking about the way California does it. Jacqueline says, yeah, it's CIF Masters for its Masters, then districts, and then state.
Yeah, California. They got their leaves. CIF would be about 60, 70 schools, and there's like 7 divisions there. The Masters is the best of that. Then you go to state, and they're all 40-man brackets. So you got 3 weeks of 40-man brackets.
Man.
So if you take our kids like Holder Burton or Mac Mauger, there's about 12 kids about that level in each weight group. And then there's the next level. It's a numbers game, but I'll be honest with you, the average kid here in Idaho is very well coached, and per capita, our cream of crop is as good as anyone else.
Yeah. And you've talked about that, Al, per capita, because we just don't have the population that some of these other states do, but per capita.
39 million and 1.9. So we got going back to the Fargo Nationals. We're the 8th state to win it since 1972. Okay. So, and we have the lowest population to ever win it at 1.9, whereas Iowa, I believe, has around 3 million, and Oklahoma maybe like 4 million or so. I forget what the number is, but yeah, for 1.9 million, that's not bad.
Yeah, for sure. Here's another shout out here from Crystal and Kurt Richards. Kyra Richards, hopefully going for her 2nd at 165 as well. Brian, we talked about this when we did that special about the Fargo Nationals, but you know, for Al and I, we're transplants from other states, but as somebody who grew up in Idaho, I mean, just what was the pride just that you felt when Team Idaho won Fargo Nationals?
You know, I mean, I think seeing the picture they kept showing of the team holding up that huge cup. I mean, it was unbelievable we were there, and when you saw that it was going to happen. I mean, you saw who we had in the finals, and I think at that point it became a reality that holy cow, we can do it. I mean, and just to see, you know, all the dads there that I grew up with, watching their kids, and Coach Owens, who's, you know, been one of my heroes when I was a high school wrestler, was Chris Owens, and you know, coaching the team, we had Martino, who's now at Princeton, and we have Rich Lovett, who's at Nebraska. And just to see all the tradition and everybody there all together, it was amazing. I mean, unforgettable moment for sure.
Yeah, and you hit a point. I mean, there's been so many kids on that team. They had 10 All-Americans, which is a record for Idaho. 10 All-Americans. And what was impressive, you had Hunter Anderson, had to get into the blood round. He had to beat a kid he had lost to 9 times, and he beats him. And then you have Jackson Packard in the round of 128, loses his first round match 11-0 against a kid that came back and I think took 3rd or 4th, won 8 or 9 in a row to get in that medal. That was sort of that anchoring point where these kids rose as a team and came together. And that didn't happen by accident. That's years of training, practice, and preparation. I've been to the best on best, and you see how they train. They train for that national mindset, that caliber, and it's a big effort by many to get these kids to that point. You can succeed in Idaho.
Definitely. Yeah, Al did a great job writing about the ring ceremony and kind of revisiting, you know, everything that happened at Fargo. It's right at the top of the homepage on our site, IdahoSports.com. And this is something that you've talked about a lot, Al. And of course, Team Idaho Wrestling is talked about as well under the direction of Coach Owens. And I'm going to get this wrong. The blueprint for success,
for action, or
for action.
blueprint for success.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And explain that for those that aren't familiar with that philosophy and everything it entails.
It's basically just sort of the guidance of what it takes to get there. It's the commitment to grow wrestling in Idaho. It's the commitment to bring the best of the best together. It's the logistics behind it. It's the template to you build it, they'll come, right? So they built a system that more and more people are buying into to the process. I don't have it in my head. Chris Owens is the one that came up with it. I just gave it a title called the Blueprint for Action and everything. And it's a total commitment by all to get our programs, our kids to the highest level possible.
Al's the big picture marketing guy. He just comes up with the tagline.
Yeah. I read it in a book years ago. That's where I got the
Yep. Here's HA. The excitement at Fargo was fun to watch. Lots of proud wrestlers, coaches, and parents, definitely. And it does take a village, for sure. So, all right. Well, as we're getting close to wrapping it up, let's just quickly look ahead.
Wrap it up. We still got another.
Well, we go as long as the fans want us to go. If the comments start dying down, then we start hitting that finish line. Let's quickly preview kind of what's coming up this weekend. I always say kind of, the official start to the wrestling season for me, when I really start focusing in, is the Tim Matthews that takes place in the Magic Valley, Brian. That's kind of the signature event this week. But what other events are you keeping an eye on?
A lot of the Eastern Idaho teams are traveling out of state, so it's going to be interesting to see how they compete there. Coming up this weekend,
Isn't LeGrand has a tournament in Oregon?
Yeah, there's one up in LeGrand. There's the AK-47 in Utah. I know some teams here are going down to that. That's a fun one because it's a team tournament the first day, and then it's a combination tournament, which I don't know if we have any of those in Idaho yet, where they start the first day as a team tournament, and then the top individuals then carry over to an individual bracket the next day. Those are kind of fun. Coming up this weekend in Idaho, the Marsh Valley tournament, that's going to be interesting to watch. A lot of the East Idaho teams that aren't going to Utah. There's the Star Valley tournament over here. That's Wyoming, but Shelley, Sugar Salem, I think Thunder Ridge. There's a handful of Idaho teams that go there. I'm not sure who's going to the Cooper Lish in Marsh Valley this weekend, but Marsh Valley usually puts on a good Malad, Soda Springs. Those schools are up there.
So we got a couple here in the chat. Evan says Toppenish. That's over in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And Lynn says Toppenish also. Isaac says the Calhoun Classic in Nyssa, Oregon is this weekend as well. Matt also said that, the Calhoun Classic. Michelle and Dan Fabi say Kellogg up north for us. I think a lot of the smaller schools are going to be in Kellogg this weekend in North Idaho. Hoyt says, yeah, Lewiston's also going to Toppenish. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that one to see all these North Idaho powers for sure. Amy says BK will be in LeGrand. Al, that's the one you were referring to. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's going to be a big weekend for out-of-state competition, along with the Tim Matthews. I think is going to be kind of the big events that we are keeping an eye on for sure. Jose, shout out Chris Owens is the man. Shout out Mountain Home, and thank you guys and all of Team Idaho for all that you do. Al, Mountain Home's got some impressive athletes. Numbers wise, they don't have the depth that some of the other 4A programs do, but they've got some really exciting individuals, both boys and girls.
Yeah, I mean, they do. You have the Rosales brothers, both state champions, Amy Hartman, and they've had other state places. But I mean, you look at Buell High School, 375 students, and they're producing all these great wrestlers. You got South Fremont, 400 and some high schools. So I mean, they're showing that with a small number of kids, but they have just outstanding coaching in the area. Another thing to keep in mind too, if all these All-Americans we produced in the last 3 years from Fargo and the Folk Style Nationals, 42% of them come from the south central, southeast of Idaho, which is all spread out. So that's what I mean by there's all throughout the state, but in that region, there is a large undertaking by parents and family, people coming together and traveling just to get this competition. because they're really spread out. Not like the Treasure Valley, we're within a half hour of each other. So hats off to everyone in those regions. For
sure. Okay, a couple rapid fire questions here, guys. Coach Nieder from Idaho Falls, Brian, can we get a breakdown on 4A 170 for the season?
I think Coach Nieder does that every year to me. So 4A 170, it's going to be fun to watch. The favorites, East Idaho Blackfoot, you got Kylan Guerrero, you got Xander Zollinger at Skyline, was second last year at that weight class. Guerrero, I think, was third at 160. You got the Kyson Anderson from Minico was a state placer that I think is returning to the same weight class. And then Canyon Ridge has got a couple kids there. I'm not sure who's going to go 60, who's going to go 70. They got Connor Claiborne, who was a state placer at 70, coming back. And I'm trying to think the other kids. All I can think is they had a beautiful mustache in the football season.
Yeah.
Coming back placed at 160 last year, and I just went blank on his name. But I mean, those are your favorites, and we'll see how it plays out. I know, my son obviously and Kylan have wrestled since they were little. I talked to Kylan's dad last week about it, and it'll be fun to watch play.
It's funny you mentioned mustaches, Brian, because here's Matthew Hamilton. Shout out to that amazing mustache, Brian.
Yeah, it's that time of the year.
Yep, for sure. There was one more 4A question. I'm trying to find it back here in the chat. All right, I'll try to find that. While we do that, Allison says South Fremont, they're headed to Butte, America for the Mining City Duels up in Montana. That's going to be a good competition as well, Al.
That is big tournament.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one for sure.
Are you talking about Caleb Summers from Canyon Ridge?
That's who it is. That's who it is.
Yeah. Two-time state placer. Yeah, just popped in my head. Yes.
Yeah. And so I'm not sure, if Claiborne is going 82 and he's going 70, or if he's going to go 60 again and Claiborne will drop. But they've got two kids there that whichever one goes 70 is going to be in that discussion.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure. Okay. Sorry, I can't find that other 4A question. It was 4A 106 maybe, or 4A. Anyways, if you are the person that asked that question, you can always throw it back in the chat and I will get it up on the screen. But otherwise, guys, let's wrap up with this question from Jacob, and he'll be joining us next week on the show. He's with his kids at Disneyland, I think. I'm assuming when he took the picture, the sun was still out, so I'm guessing he was in California. Jacob wanted to know, he wanted all of our picks. Who wins 5A? Early season picks for 4A, 3A, 2A. Let's hear them. Let's go on the record, guys, with our official picks. And of course, we're going to be totally wrong, and it's going to be really fun to revisit this in February. Let's start 5A, Al. What do you think?
Meridian.
Brian?
I've got Meridian 2, close Post Falls, Middleton are in the mix.
Yep.
I'll go Post Falls. I live in North Idaho now, so I gotta rep the North. I'll take.
They're always going to represent. I mean, Post Falls is, its legacy up there.
I'm gonna write these down as well, by the way, so we can go back and check and see how we did. Al, what's your 4A pick?
Minico has the numbers. I mean, they have almost a full team of state placers returning back and a whole army of second teamers. If we were just counting the first team only, I would say BK, because they got like 5 or 6 returning state champions. So it'll be between those two. But Minico just has the numbers. Mathematically, it's going to be tough to be beat.
Brian?
I can't disagree with that. That's tough, but I'll go the upset. I'm going to go BK just because their ones are so solid. I mean,
they're solid.
They're going to have 6 kids in the finals possibly. Mm-hmm. And so I'll go with the upset, and I think it's going to be BK or Minico, but I'll go BK.
I'm with you, Brian. I just think BK's just got such talent at the top that really can carry the points. I think it's going to be, now they'll have to be perfect and cash in on all those. But
they need a lot of pins.
Yeah.
I think where they can get them. I've done the math already. So
of course, Al's already crunched the numbers and plugged it into that supercomputer.
It's possible,
of a brain.
But they're going to have to get a lot of pins, and some of these second teamer young kids rise.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
And that's the other kid at 170 we didn't think of is Saya Thompson, who's coming up from 160 to. He's obviously going to be in the returning state champ at 160. So they're going to get some pins there.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. All right, 3A. We kind of already discussed this a little bit, Al, but what's your official 3A pick?
Fruitland.
Okay. And Brian, were you in the Fruitland camp also?
A week ago I would have said Buell, but watching Fruitland at those duels this week, the Oregon move-in they had, the way Hood worked out, I've got to go Fruitland with Buell a close 1D.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I'll go Buell. I don't know. It's just a gut feeling I've got. I think this is going to be a big year for Buell. They've been right there so often. So, okay, and then 2A, Al.
New Plymouth.
This is the hard one.
Most points coming back.
Yep. Yeah, I like New Plymouth. I mean, Ryerie's always solid. North Fremont had a solid team.
Yep.
I'll go with an underdog. I'm going to say Malad. I think Malad's got some young kids that are going to score some points, and and
Kellogg too, right?
Kellogg's right up there too.
Turner's coming back.
Yep.
Brian, you stole mine. That was going to be my ultra super sneaky pick was Malad. I'll officially go with Malad too. I've been very impressed from the top down all the way to their youth program. They do a really good job down there in Malad. So it's and here's Amy says, Riley just recorded your 3A predictions. He's going to keep the receipts.
They're right there. I mean, it's hard to pick against Buell with what they have there and what, Coach Bartlett has done. I mean, just an amazing job. And the time he puts in the summer with traveling with all of these kids and still manages to have time to travel with Buell is one of the most impressive coaching jobs in the state. So you can't count Buell out this year for sure.
Yep.
And the trout capital of America. I learned a lot of history and a lot of stuff about Idaho doing all my articles. I study everything about the city, the background. I'm learning a lot about Idaho. It's great.
Al, if you ever get, we don't want you to, but if you ever get tired of covering the wrestling beat, you could host a show on PBS or something. You go travel around the state. And
I'm sticking here.
Oh, that sounds good. Meredy says Malad also. Yep. And we were talking about 4-time state champs here. Tom's got one for us. Drake Morrison.
He's a great incoming freshman and definitely got to watch out. I think he's got a shot at it this year.
Didn't he win the kids nationals a couple years ago or like 14U? Yeah, he's tough.
He absolutely. And I think he went, were they at Dalkey? I looked this week. I think he went undefeated there as a freshman at that first duel, I think. I should have checked that, but.
Yeah, for sure. Amy, one last comment here from Amy, and then we'll wrap up. Talking about Riley Brunson from Buell. She says, you do not want to know what he thinks of those predictions, fellas. And of course, the number one rule is we love making predictions and we love to be wrong. If we're wrong, we
got them fired up.
Yeah. Yep, for sure.
No, they'll be there. They'll be in the mix.
Yep, for sure. All right. Well, that'll do it for the maiden voyage of this year's edition of the Mat Chat Prepcast. We'll be with you every Tuesday night, rain or shine, 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Pacific Time on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, Twitter account, and also the Idaho Wrestling News Facebook page this year as well. If you can't make it live, you can always go back and watch a replay of this. We will also take the audio of this and put it into the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast feed. So if you're an audio person and you like to download podcasts, Google, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, etc., just subscribe to the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast and you can listen to the show every week that way as well. Big thanks to all of you, the fans. Really, you fans are what drive the show. You choose the topics, you choose where we go, what path we take, and that you're the reason we do this is for the parents, the coaches, and these young men and women that are competing so hard in the state of Idaho. Be on the lookout for Al's season preview coming early next week on the homepage.
Next
Idaho
week, I got to get in next week.
pressure.
No, we'll get it in.
Yes, coming soon to a website near you.
It'll be ready.
Yeah, IdahoSports.com. We will have the written preview with all that great data coming up. Just be on the lookout for it. In the meantime, you can check out Al's latest Hidden Gems piece. It just published today with the Brunson boys from Buell. All right.
And I got two more coming. Got Jackson Packer, and we got Jay Castaneda are the next two in line. And a shout out to my buddy Ramon Valdez, a great wrestling fan out there. And want to thank everyone for all their support.
Yep, for sure. And the rankings are coming back next week as well. Team rankings, individual rankings, boys and girls, each classification, every weight class as well. So that's all coming next week on the site as well at IdahoSports.com. Al, thank you as always for joining us. We appreciate it. Brian, thank you.
Thank you. We'll see everyone next week.
Yep, sounds good. One more request before you duck out for the night. If you could hit that like button and share this, that'll help all the people that couldn't be here live tonight find it a little easier amongst everything else in their social media feeds tomorrow. So hit that like button, share this if you would, and then everybody enjoy the competition this weekend. And we will see you back here next Tuesday night for another edition of the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.